So no pressure on that part then. So for the privilege of meeting Leander, race 305, a semi-final of the Elite Coachless Fours. And the crews lead the state boats nice and clean. That's what we like to see. It's always a shame when someone catches a crab or collides with a buoy early on because it does spoil the spectacle. But so far so good in our first 5 races of the day. Nice clean starts, and let's see if these two crews can stay together a little better than the junior quads. Certainly sticking to their stations considerably more professionally. There you go, you can see Durham on the left hand side of your picture. And Ohio State just dropping behind the umpire's launch. But early on it's pretty difficult to tell who is in the lead. I daren't guess because they'll only curse it.
Ohio, that sort of distinctive American style, a good cracking catch. Durham looking the smoother of the two, but that doesn't necessarily dictate boat speed. In fact, Ohio looked to have a little edge, but it's certainly neck and neck as they come up to the quarter-mile signal.
That's my first tick in commentary bingo, Charlie. Neck and neck, humdinger, bow ball to bow ball. And to be fair, they absolutely are. If you look at the two crews, it's perhaps half a length to Durham. Although Durham are pretty close to their side of the course.
I think Durham have just put a half a pip in there as they sent. Yes, they have. It's half, 3/4 of a pip up, just to try and shake off their competition. But Ohio responded, so this is a good race. This is going to be neck and neck all the way through, I think. Durham have a few feet, and they've tried to move away, but Ohio are not letting them.
I think Durham are stretching out here. As I watched them come past, I was just having a look at them on the drone. And if you look at their bodies, look at their backs, they're straining here. So I think to break contact and end this race early, I think on the Henley match racing format, or in regards to that, if you break contact and you manage to get clear water and your opposition can no longer see or hear you, it has a massive psychological effect. I think Durham at the moment have got the bit between their teeth and they're straining to get away.
Yes, Ohio can sense that they're still close enough to make it a competitive race, and Durham just moved again, another half pip maybe, just to try and crack it. But Ohio not letting them get away.
Absolutely not. They are straining. I think they're huffing and puffing, but they're not managing to blow Ohio away at this moment.
Yes, good race. We're now into the second, third, and it'll be interesting to see how the boat speeds change now.
Well, you'd expect Durham to get the lion's share of support on the bank, wouldn't you, as a home crew? And there we go, as we go past Fawley Court, they just about edged clear water. But this race is by no means over as they move down past the enclosures. I'm sure Leander, wherever they are, they'll be watching this race with more than just a passing interest.
Yeah, their coach, I saw Carl earlier on, he certainly was down here early, almost measuring the temperature of the water. Yes, it's still a race. Ohio sense that they've got to do something now as they come into the last third of the race. Durham accelerated 2 or 3 times in that last 200 or 300 meters, and they've just managed to stay ahead. It's an overlap, but only just.
Well, if Ohio want to go, they need to go now. I think as that race progresses on the top right hand side of your screen, the Elite Pairs is underway now, race 306. Banks Rowing Club of Australia on the Berkshire station and a Marlow Molesey composite on the Buckinghamshire station. Now, it is my understanding that the crew from Australia rowing under the flag of Banks are 2 Olympians from the Rio Games this summer. So, fantastic pedigree. But at the moment, they're not having it all their own way in any way. It's the composite from Molesey and Marlow who are laying down the hammer in this early stage. They're the 2 crews converging coming across into each other's station. I think we call that neutral water, perhaps. At the moment, it is the English crew, the British crew from Marlow and Molesey, who have just about got the slightest of advantages, although I think Banks are turning the screw now. Not only turning the screw, they're moving right across into Marlow's water.
It's looking dangerous now in terms of a clashing possibility. In fact, Banks have just managed to release themselves from that better off. Only a third of a length between the two. Cox's pairs, of course, not only have you got to row hard, you've got to steer well as well. At the moment, Banks have got the slight edge. Both rating about 35, 36 from the Marlow composite.
We have to say it's impressive work from the Marlow and Molesey composite to be keeping up with a crew that has Olympic standard athletes on board. Alexandra Louise Hagan, who is in this crew, was a 2 times Olympian in 2012 and 2016 in the women's A. So she's been coaching in Melbourne ever since Rio. I'm sure she'll be looking to record a win here at the Henley Women's Regatta. And at the moment, Charlie, advantage to the Australians.
Yes, it's a length and a half now. Banks just looking more composed, and in fact they've just pushed on a little bit as they sense the barrier. Yes, Banks just looking a little bit longer. Marlow Molesey trying very hard to get back on terms, but it's not looking easy for them at the moment, and that early steering problem will certainly cost them half, 3/4 of a length. So Banks lead by about 2 lengths now, a little bit more perhaps.
As soon as we watch this race make its way down the course, we'll give you a rundown of some of the results from this morning, starting with race 301. And that was a win for the Sydney Rowing Club Australian Composite by 4.5 lengths. Race 302 was a win for Gloucester Hartpury over Latimer by 2.5 lengths. Race 303 was a win for Henley Rowing Club by 2 lengths over St Paul's Girls' School. And the Isle of Ely defeated Vevey Rowing Club from Switzerland by 4.5 lengths. And in the race that we saw a couple of moments ago, the only semi-final of the Elite Coxers Fours was a win for Durham University over Ohio State. The verdict 3/4 of a length. And just looking at some of the times, Durham in their Elite Coxers Four semi-final recorded a 5:04, which must be reasonably close to the record.
Yeah, it's 5:03, I think, the record.
So we're seeing fast times already this morning, so if the conditions stay as flat and fair as they are now, we should see some records. And just looking at the pictures now, I think we've got the next semi-final of the Elite Coxers pairs, and Imperial College have run into trouble on the booms there. Too busy reading out results to actually watch what was going on the river, but Oxford University on the right-hand side of your picture on the Berkshire station have rode away from Imperial, and Imperial some shocking steering off the start there, Charlie. I don't know if you saw anything I didn't.
Again, like you, I was looking at the results, and it's always a shame when you just clip the boom because it stops you dead in the water. But in fact, IC have come back really throttling hard, 37 strokes the minute, and it'll be interesting to see how this could unfold because there's not much between these two pairs now. Umpire's warning. Not IC. IC look to have settled down on their line now. Oxford University. Yes, throttling hard, but IC are certainly not letting them get away with it.
No, if anything, Imperial are probably coming back here. I think it's safe to say. If you look at the barrel ball there from the drone shots of IC, with every stroke they take, it does seem to eat into Oxford's lead, and that was a disastrous start from Imperial, but they have recovered fantastically well. So now, as they pass us in the commentary box, almost draw level.
Yes, there's only a few feet in it. In fact, the umpire's warning Oxford again. Both had to row through some wash there from a launch on the far side. I see it's only half a length. Umpire warning Oxford again. I mean, to me, although I see are down by 1/3 of a length, I see look to be the more composed as we move past the barrier.
Absolutely, the composure needed to recover from a collision with the booms. demonstrated in abundance here by Imperial College, and I think as we watch the drone shots, it is Icy who just about nudged their bows ahead. Of course, Oxford, there's plenty of experience in this boat too. Both of these girls, Rebecca Tawarton-Naud and Isabel Dodds, both rowed in the Oxford Blue Boat in the annual boat race this year. Did come out on the losing side, but nonetheless experienced athletes, and they'll be looking to mount a charge in the second half. But at the moment, despite the fact that they collided with the boom early on, Imperial are the crew in the lead.
Yes, similar rates from these pairs, both anxious to try and shake the opposition off. Icy look to have a few feet now. Oxford moving across into Icy's water again. The umpire will certainly be warning them if they don't move back.
I think this is what we describe as a humdinger of a race, isn't
Yeah,
it, Charlie?
yes. Nip and tuck.
This is absolutely excellent.
Bow ball to bow ball. Great. This is what it's all about.
All the commentary cliches. And there we go, we can see the wonderful landscape shots of Henley stretched out in all its beauty, and two crews battling down the course. At the moment, I think if I were a betting man, I'd be putting my money in London with Imperial College there on the left-hand side of your picture. But Oxford mounting a charge here, as far as I can tell.
Yes. Amy Gibson and Fiona Macklin from IC looking, still got that composure, but just looking a little bit tired as we see this cross shot, and Oxford just sensing the slowing of the boat speed from IC and attacking now.
Definitely
Oxford
sensing.
attacking, yes.
Yeah, you saw there Isabel Dodds have a little look across at Imperial, and I think they're mounting a charge here. Oxford, maybe all that boat race training, which obviously based around fitness, is going to come into play here in the final stages, and they've got to sprint now. Oxford, they've got to go because Imperial still have half a length.
Good race, very good race.
Fantastic race. And credit to Imperial, especially after that mishap earlier on up the course. They've recovered well and they do lead. But Oxford's still going for it.
Yes, I think IC had a little bit of a bubble there, and Oxford came back, but IC looked just a little bit more composed again, got back into their rhythm and rowing well together.
Well, you can keep one eye there on the top right hand side of your screen on that race, but the Academic Fours has begun and it's race 308, contested between Durham University on the Berkshire station, that's the right hand side of your picture, and King's College London on the Buckinghamshire station. And we've got a pretty good race here too. The two crews making their way down the course, and Durham have, I don't know, about a third of a length as they come down and leave the looming presence of Temple Island.
Yes, Durham certainly got the edge, attacking hard. But King's College certainly not letting up. It is very much neck and neck, and you can hear the crowds almost screaming their support for each crew. It's only a few feet Durham have over King's College.
Just as another point, we'll be keeping an eye on what happened there in the elite pairs race between Oxford and Imperial, because as I watched that screen, it looked like the umpire had to intervene and the race was stopped, and we'll be giving you updates or bringing you updates as soon as we know what happened. But as it stands, it's the Academic Coxed Fours, which is happening out on the course here, race 308. And it's Durham and Kings, and Charlie, just watching this one make its way down the course, this looks like it's going to be another fantastic race. They've swung past us at the barrier, and at the moment, there's pretty much nothing to choose between the two crews.
No, good attacking style from both these crews. Of course, Cox 4, you've got to carry that extra weight, so it does change the technique a little bit. But at the moment, Durham seem to have probably half a length now over King's College. Slightly short stroke, but doesn't matter. They've kept the boat speed up.
That camera angle could be deceptive, but it looks like Kings may be mounting a bit of a charge.
Yes, I think they are.
Now, traditionally, you'd expect Durham to be the stronger of the two crews when you're on paper, but Kings have had a good weekend so far and actually undergoing a bit of a resurgence in their programme. If they can take the scalp of Durham, that'd be fantastic for their programme and a procession through to the Academic Fours final.
Yes, Kings just about half a pip, 3/4 of a pip above Durham. Just helps to keep that boat speed up. But it's neck and neck still, perhaps a third of a length in Durham's favour as they come up to the Forley signal.
Yeah, brilliant race and very lot to choose between the two crews as they move towards our stationary camera point. I'd be a brave man to try and tell any difference between them, but at the moment the momentum, if I watch the two crews and their rhythm and their body movements, I have to say I think Kings look to be the stronger of the two. Look at the athletes in the Durham crew, they look a bit tired, and I think Kings, Charlie, are coming through here.
I think you're right, because the Kings, the four of them are swinging very well together. You can almost see the energy from their bodies working together. Durham just clipping it a bit, but still attacking. But Kings have the edge now.
Well, we've been treated to two fantastic races here, and it does look like Kings have rode through Durham, which doesn't happen very often, I have to say, on the Henley course and the nature of match racing. If you get up from the start, more often than not, you'll stay there. And I think there is a figure to put on it, but around 85% of the crews who lead at the barrier generally go on to win the race. But as it stands, it doesn't look like that will be happening, and the form book will be turned on its head, because King's College on the left-hand side of your screen are leading this race. Keep one eye on that on the top right-hand side of the screen. But race 309 is underway, the second semi-final of the Academic Cox Fours between Imperial College on the Berkshire station and the University of London on the Buckinghamshire station. So two crews who probably know each other well, and geographically they're both pretty close to each other as well. I think Imperial are Putney and UL are Chiswick, so on the same boat race championship course. And as it stands, UL in their distinctive purple kit have about a third of, I don't know, maybe not a third of length, perhaps a canvas as they move down past Temple Island.
Yes, good clean start from both these crews. Of course, they've got a Cox on board, so they shouldn't have any problem with steering. The Imperial College a little bit close to the booms, but nothing to get too worked up about.
Well, you wouldn't expect any clashes, would you, or any crashes here?
You shouldn't do.
Coxes, I mean, it is their job to motivate their crew, but also to safely navigate them down the course. And at the moment, the distance hasn't really changed. 30 strokes on, it's still UL by a canvas.
Perhaps a little bit less. It looks as though the IC boat's just got a little bit better boat speed at the moment. We don't know whether they've just done a little push. It's difficult to tell. But
I think you're right, Charlie. Maybe IC just edging it, but either way, it's nip and tuck between the two crews. And there you go. I think IC have maybe a foot.
It's maybe a foot.
So after the fast start from UL, IC have checked that and have moved back and responded. And I think this race is going to unfold into a pretty interesting one.
Yes,
it will
as
be
they
good
come
to see.
the quarter mile signal, UL trying to attack IC, but IC just looking more composed at the moment. But there's literally, well, you wouldn't be able to separate these.
Not at all. They've just literally moved past our commentary point, parallel with us, and I couldn't tell anything between the two crews. It is the literal definition of bow ball to bow ball. And actually, this is the third in a row, third excellent race in a row we've had.
In fact, UL now put in their push as they come through the barrier point, wanting to get back on terms with IC, although there's only a foot in it. UL just edging themselves by a foot. But it's neck and neck. Anybody's race at the moment.
You've got to wonder, haven't you, in races like this where it quite literally is anybody's game, how important is a race plan now? How important is it to stay calm and execute what your coach has told you to do?
I think race planning is important, but it has to be flexible. You can't just race what your opponents do, but you respond very subtly, I think, to any shade of change. As you feel that they might be just weakening, if you feel they might be sprinting away, you have to go with it, but you still have to maintain your own race plan.
Gosh, it's pretty much impossible to tell anything between these two crews. UL took the early lead, IC checked them and went down to a It'll be 2 feet lead. Now the two crews are neck and neck as they make their way down the course, and I'm sure the support on the bank will be energetic, to say the least. So we'll try and stick with this race as it nears its conclusion, but both crews now, someone's going to have to go, aren't they?
Well, I see again UL just having another push. That's the second in the last 150 metres. I'd rather that they stayed long and just try to crack it every stroke. I see it certainly not being ruffled. Both rating about 36. Both attacking style. But again, it's neck and neck. Anybody's race.
Well, UL look to be sprinting here. I think if you look at the stroke girl and the UL crew there in their purple kit, they look to be upping the rate, and I think they're going for it. It's now or never. I suppose go hard or go home. Actually, it's going to come down to who's got the gear change at the end here, because still it's so difficult to tell anything between these two crews. I'd probably say UL have the advantage here. I think that sprint has worked out for them. IC now need to respond. See the pain etched on the faces of all 8 athletes. We will keep one eye on that as it progresses down the course. But the semi-final, the first semi-final of the Junior 8s is now underway between Buckingham B&N School from the USA on the Berkshire station and Headington School, a name that will need no introduction on the Buckinghamshire station. And indeed, there we go, the pedigree of Headington speaks for itself. They are already a third of a length up.
Yes. Strong pedigree from Headington across a number of boat classes, but particularly in 8s and 4s. But they're moving away now, very early on in the race.
Just as we watch that 8 race unfold, just watch the Cox 4s as they come towards the conclusion of their race. And it's still UL and it's still Imperial, and they're still gunning for it, both of them. And it is pretty much impossible to tell anything between those two crews. As they cross the line, Charlie, do you know what? I couldn't call it.
Photo, I'm afraid.
What a fantastic race there to round off the semi-finals of the academic Cox 4s. But as it is, Headington, what a shot that is. 2 8s making their way down the course, punching their way down the Henley Women's Regatta course. And at the moment it is Headington.
Yes, that typical Headington style. Very strong but composed. Leading their opponents from the USA at the moment.
There we go, we see where the drone is launched from. And the pilot of the drone, I'm sure we'll get some drone shots as they come down past us. But Headington, it is quite remarkable, the programme that they've built in Oxford and that Ryan Domain has curated over the years, because they are, I can't remember how many times they've won the National Schools title. I think it's 8, 9 times in a row now. Certainly as long as